We'll go ahead and get started, and hopefully some people will trickle in through these introductory slides. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we are focusing specifically on Canvas Gradebook tips and tools. When the gradebook is set up well, instructors spend less time answering emails about grades, and students will spend more time focusing on learning instead of troubleshooting. My name is Kathleen Barkell, and I'm joined today by Lily Sloan. We're both instructional designers here at UNT. Today's session is the last in our Canvas Essentials workshop series. If you're unable to attend our first two workshops, they are linked in this presentation for your viewing pleasure, which will be shared out after the end of this workshop today. This workshop series is designed for faculty and graduate TAs and TFs who are teaching in online, hybrid, or in-person formats. Our goal is to share practical strategies and tools that can support your teaching regardless of modality. So whether you're teaching fully online, blending formats, or teaching face-to-face, these sessions are intended to be useful and applicable to your course setup and teaching workflow. Please feel free to ask questions during the session by typing your question in the Teams chat. We will curate and answer questions from the chat live as we go whenever it makes sense. If your question can wait until the end, please feel free to hold it because we'll also reserve about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the presentation for Q&A. If we still have questions after that, we're happy to stick around and make sure your questions get answered. This session is being recorded, and you will receive a link to the recording and the slide deck after the workshop. By the end of today's session, you should feel confident in 3 key areas. First, you'll be able to navigate and configure key gradebook tools and settings so your grades calculate the way you expect them to. Second, we'll walk through common grading practices in Canvas, including entering grades efficiently and managing assignment policies. And lastly, we'll focus on grade visibility, what students see when they see it, and how posting policies help you control that. Everything that we're covering today ties back to improving the student experience with fewer surprises, clear expectations, and more consistent feedback. But before we jump into it, it's important to make a distinction between grade settings and gradebook tools. Grade settings determine how grades are calculated. Things like points versus weighted assignment groups, extra credit, and dropping lowest scores. These settings live in multiple places: your syllabus, assignments page, grading scheme, and course settings. When they don't match, that's where the problems arise. Gradebook tools, on the other hand, affect how you interact with the grade. Things like automatically flowing grades from SpeedGrader, hiding or posting grades, late and missing policies, messaging students, and filtering what you're seeing. So the key takeaway here is that gradebook issues are rarely just a gradebook problem. They're usually a settings problem. And with that in mind, Lily will start us off by focusing on course level grade settings that affect calculations. Then we'll move into navigating and using the gradebook itself.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'll start with a question. Are you not sure whether to use points-based or a weighted grading scheme? Maybe you've been given a course that was already set up with a weighted grading scheme, or maybe you've always used total points to calculate grades, but you're curious about other options. Maybe you have no idea which grading scheme is best for your course. That's okay. There's no right answer, and grades can be calculated in Canvas with either the points-based or weighted grading schemes. Let's discuss some potential reasons why one grading scheme may be better suited so you can be prepared before your next course begins. All right. Let's first discuss the points-based graded scheme. Perhaps you've been teaching a course for a long time or have recently been given a course to teach that is set up with a points-based grading scheme. This simply means that each assignment contributes to the total number of points possible in the course. Assignments with more points are going to affect the final grade more significantly than assignments with less points. As you can see in our example, the writing assignment has the largest number of points at 500. The discussion number 1 has the smallest number of points at 100. The writing assignment is worth 5 times the value of discussion number 1 in the final grade. Some reasons that this grading scheme might make sense to your course: maybe the number of assignments is set. It is fully locked in and no further assignments will be added to the course as it's taught in real time. Or maybe there are a smaller number of graded assignments that contribute to the overall grade, and it's easy to differentiate their importance based on their individual number of points. Or perhaps there are large projects, papers, or portfolio assignments that contribute to most of the final grade. For instance, perhaps the main outcome of the course is a thesis paper or literature review for a doctoral course. That large assignment is going to contribute the majority of points to the final grade. Let's go to the next slide. All right, on to weighted grading method. So conversely, in the weighted grading method, the assignment categories contribute by percentage to the final grade. For instance, in the sample weighted grading scheme pictured here, regardless of whether you have 2 or 10 quizzes, the overall quiz category will contribute 25% towards the final grade. This can be helpful if you are building or teaching a new course and you aren't sure how many assignments in a given category you will create by the end of the semester. Or if you have many smaller formative assignments, this can be a helpful way of maintaining their effect on the final grade. This can also help if you have grading policies that allow the lowest grade in a category, such as quizzes, to be dropped. Let's take a look at how to set up this rule in Canvas. Next slide, please. All right, so a common grading policy is to drop the lowest graded assignment in a category, such as the lowest quiz grade. This is only an option when using a weighted grading scheme. To do this, you'll visit the Assignments page in Canvas and select the 3 vertical dots next to your desired assignment category. You'll select the Edit option, and a pop-up window will provide the option to ignore any number of the highest or lowest scoring assignments in a category. If you want to automatically drop the lowest grade in the category, you would select 1 under Lowest Scores. Additionally, if you want to remove a specific assignment from this rule, you can add it to the Never Drop area. For instance, if you do not want the syllabus quiz to be applied to this rule because you want students to read the syllabus and do as well as they can on that quiz, then you would add that assignment by clicking the icon that says Add an Assignment. So the following video demonstration is going to walk us through that quick process. I'll mute myself while that's playing.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to set the feature of dropping the lowest grade within an assignment category. I'm in my Assignments page on Canvas, and I'm going to select the 3 vertical dots here next to an assignment category. In this example, it's Weekly Assignments. I'll select Edit, and in this pop-up window, under Lowest Scores, I'm going to change that from 0 to 1. In addition, if there's an assignment that you want to exclude from this rule, you'll add it here in this Never Drop area. So for this example, I'm going to select the Sample Course Introduction quiz. If that was something like your syllabus quiz, you might want students to try to do really well on that so they understand the expectations of your course. I'll click Save. And now, within the grading process, the lowest assignment within this category will be dropped.
All right, we can go to the next slide.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to set the feature of dropping the lowest grade within an assignment category. I'm in my Assignments page on Canvas, and I'm going to select the 3 vertical dots here next to an assignment category.
Can we pause
in
this video?
Example, it's Weekly Assignments.
That's great. Okay, so pretty simple to set the lowest grade to drop. So if we'll move to the next slide, we're going to take a look at how to set up extra credit options in Canvas. So if you've ever wondered how to set up an extra credit option in Canvas, you may have found that there's not exactly a preset option, but there are several simple workaround methods. Many are explained clearly in the link within the first bullet point from the instructor guide. I'm going to focus on the 0-point assignment as a simple way to offer extra credit. You will create an assignment titled Extra Credit worth 0 points. Then you will create a simple rubric that provides the number of additional points possible, for instance, 5 points. Using the rubric, you can grade with SpeedGrader to quickly add the additional 5 points for students that completed the extra credit criteria. Since the assignment was initially set up as 0 points possible, this will add 5 excess points to their total in the selected weighted grading category. Students that do not complete the extra credit will not be negatively affected. So I have another demonstration video, and I'll show you the process of using a 0-point assignment and a simple rubric to quickly offer and grade extra credit. Let's go to the next slide for that.
In this video, I'll show you a simple way to create an extra credit assignment in Canvas. I'm in my assignments page, and I've created an extra credit assignment labeled accordingly. I'm going to click on it and look at some of the information that I've included within the assignment. In this example, I'm asking students to attend a UNT Dance and Theater production and submit some information from it. They can receive 5 potential points possible towards this weighted category of weekly assignments. However, notice in the assignment settings, the points possible is listed as 0. It is under the weekly assignments group or category, and I've provided a simple text entry box as the form of submission. That's all I really need here, so I'll click Save. And now I'm going to take a look at the rubric that I've aligned with this assignment. Notice in the rubric, I'm offering 5 points if they complete the required information for this extra credit. I could use SpeedGrader and offer those students that submitted the information 5 points, and it would be 5 points out of the 0 points possible, hence the extra in extra credit.
All right, let's move on to the next slide. There we go. All right, so if you're just beginning the course design process, there are a couple areas in Canvas to be aware of that display information about your graded scheme, either points or weights. So be sure to check these areas, especially if you are setting up a course that is new to you, or if you're building a course from one of our templates. In the following video, I will demonstrate how to find and edit these areas that display your grading scheme information. Next slide, please.
In this video, I'll show you 2 areas on Canvas where you can find information related to your grading scheme. The first is the syllabus page. Notice on the right-hand side, underneath the calendar, you'll see a breakdown of the assignment categories by percentage. Now, if you were not aware that you had assignment categories set up and had weighted percentages set up, this is an indicator that you need to change your settings. You can do that on the assignments page. Next to this green icon that says Add an Assignment, there's 3 vertical dots, and you'll select Assignment Group Weights. In this pop-up window, you can see the breakdown of the assignment categories by percentage. And I've intentionally set up weighted grading categories in this course. But if I don't want that, I simply deselect this box and click Save. Now I can return to the syllabus page and notice that that automated area is no longer visible and simply states course assignments are not weighted. When you see this, this is an indicator that you currently have a points-based grading scheme set up. Be sure to check those two areas whenever you're first setting up a course.
As you can see here, it's important to know which grading scheme your course is set up with and how to make adjustments to that. Your grading scheme will affect how individual assignments compose the final grade. Make sure to check your grading scheme settings to your course before the semester begins. Now Kathleen will show us some important tools within the gradebook that allow for an efficient grading process.
Thanks, Lily. Before we move on, do we have any questions so far? Lily, do you mind checking the chat with the presentation view? It's hard for me to see all the things.
Do you want us to raise our hand, or can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
Kim, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I just have one question. And it was when you were talking about the lowest assignment. And my question is, will the lowest assignment occur from the student's perspective, looking at their grades? Will it be dropped at the end of the semester, or do they see it real time? So if I have, let's say I've only graded 2 assignments and one is, lower than the other, when they look, will that one assignment of the 2 not be included in their grade? Or over the course, let's say we're going to have 10 assignments in total, at the end, does it, when they look, do they see their grade with the lowest assignment dropped?
That's a great question. I might have to look into that a little bit more in detail just to be sure. I feel like with weighted grades, in my experience teaching courses, it's calculating them as you go. Kathleen, do you know anything different about that?
I don't. But I think that's a really good question, Kim. So we can look into that and get back to you and let you know the answer.
Yeah.
Okay,
definitely.
I can speak to this. This is Andrea. I know exactly what you're talking about, because if you have say 3 quizzes, when they take the first 2, unless you have zeros in there, it will drop the lowest grade. So if you wait till the end, when you put that last grade in, it will sometimes change the grades. Same thing if you have one or a student decides not to take it, it will drop the 0 until you put another 0 in, for instance. So it will calculate as you go along.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Are there any other questions before we move to the next part? Okay,
I have one.
sure.
In a previous LMS, we had the option to set our grades so that it accumulates, meaning that students started out with a 0, and every assignment they completed, their grades went up. There was never, I had an A in this class until I took this test and it brought down my grade. And for some of our first year entry-level students, that works very well, so that everything that they accomplish continually raises their grades. It's like a video game. You start at 0 and you continue to add points. Is there a way to do that within Canvas? I'm afraid to assign zeros before an assignment, because I'm not convinced that when a student does that assignment, their grade will override that 0.
From what I have seen, Marianne, that to do it that way, that's like an overall points-based setting in Canvas. And right now that's set at the institutional level.
Okay.
So that's not the answer that you wanted, but yes, it's possible, but no, we don't have it set that way.
Okay, thank you.
Now, it might be something that we could check with James at the LMS help desk and ask if it's something that can be overwritten, like if an individual instructor can change it. That's something we could definitely look into.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. All right, let's move on and we will pause in a moment and take some additional questions if there are any. All right, so if you were able to attend the SpeedGrader workshop, you know that grades assigned via SpeedGrader are automatically populated in the gradebook. This reduces your manual entry in the gradebook and can reduce human and calculation errors if the course grading settings are constructed correctly that Lily previously showed us. So each column in your gradebook represents an individual assignment, and they can be arranged by assignment name, due date, points, module, or dragged and dropped manually, helping to ensure your gradebook is organized in a way that makes sense to you. You can also apply filters and sorting. So the filter menu, as shown on the left, allows the gradebook to be filtered by modules, assignment groups, student groups, assignment status, submission type, section, and assignment due dates. You will also see highlighted in green that you have the ability to create and manage your own filters, making this an even more dynamic feature. Now notice I mentioned section, but you don't see the section filter option here because I don't have sections in my Sandbox course where I took this screen grab. However, if you have course sections or a combined course, this filter could become quite useful, particularly if you have a TA assigned to grading a specific student group or section, or you have, with this blended model that we're doing, if you have face-to-face students and then, online students in this hybrid model that we are trying to go forth with, that would be a really helpful filter there. So when a filter option is selected, the filter displays at the top of the gradebook, and you can choose multiple filters at the same time. However, just be aware that you can only filter by assignment group if you've created assignment categories. Otherwise, they're all just in one large assignment group, and so filtering is not helpful. The sorting, shown on the right, is a column feature and allows you to sort an assignment by grade, missing, late, excused, unposted, or student name. To avoid going back and forth from the gradebook and Canvas inbox, you can message students directly from each column or assignment in the gradebook. So you're going to access this assignment level feature the same way you would access sorting, by clicking the 3 vertical dots in the right-hand corner of the assignment. The default is composing a message for students who have not yet submitted. However, using this dropdown, you can also send messages to students who have submitted, have not been graded, scored less than, scored more than, or who have been reassigned on a specific assignment. And though you are sending out one message, rest assured each student selected will receive an individual message ensuring privacy. The gradebook also includes a default set of colors that indicate various assignment statuses. Number 1 is blue, and that is your late submission. The red, or number 2, is missing submission. 3 or green is a resubmitted assignment or quiz. So that means it would need to be regraded. Orange 4 is your dropped grade. So if you instituted the drop rules that Lily mentioned, these will be flagged as orange. And yellow is an excused assignment. You can change these color statuses if any of them are hard to view or just offending to you for some reason, but you cannot change what they mean, just FYI. The gradebook also allows you to set a late submission policy and modify your grade posting policies. So these are settings related and can have a significant impact on your courses if they are not set up appropriately. So we're going to go a bit more in depth on these and discuss some caveats and specific use cases. The late submission policy allows you to automatically deduct points on all late submissions. A submission is labeled late when it has been submitted past the due date. Only assignments with the status of late will be affected by this late submission policy. this policy will be applied to a submission when it's graded, and this does not impact your complete or incomplete assignments because there's no numerical grade. This policy allows you to define a percentage of the total points possible on an assignment that will be deducted for late submissions. These points can be deducted per day or hour the submission is late. So for example, an ease of math, let's say we have an assignment worth 10 points and we set the deduction as 10% per day late. Then the assignments will have 1 point deducted per day it's late. So if a student is awarded full points on the assignment, i.e. 10 in this case, but they turn it in 2 days late, they would have 2 points deducted from their final grade, making their final grade 8 points. Additionally, you can define the lowest possible grade threshold for a late policy. The lowest possible grade percentage is the lowest score a student can receive when late policy deductions are applied to grades entered above that percentage. Notice it says when late policy deductions are applied. So if a student turns it in on time and they earn something below that threshold, that grade stays. This is only for assignments where the late policy is applied. Any grade awarded equal to or below that percentage will not receive the late policy deductions. So for example, if your late submission policy is set to deduct 10% per day for late submissions, and a student submits an assignment 8 days late, and let's just go with our original example, our assignment's worth 10 points if they turn it in on time. So 10% day per late, then they are losing 8 points to that late penalty, meaning they would have an overall grade of 2. However, if the lowest grade possible is set to 60%, the student's grade will be adjusted to 6 points. Any grades awarded that are less than or equal to 6 will not have late policies applied. So again, if a student turns it in on time and they rightfully earn 2 points, then the 2 points stays. In Gradebook View, you can easily identify which assignments were submitted late as they will be color-coded blue as we saw earlier in the previous slide, or whatever color you choose, you know? All right, so how much should your late deduction be? When you are deciding the amount of the late submission deduction, I would caution you to consider the impact on the overall course grade. Okay, don't be scared, but we have to think about the math for a second. So for example, is the assignment in a weighted category? If so, how much is it weighted compared to the rest of the assignments? How many assignments are in that category? These are all questions that would affect the overall weight of just one late grade on a student's entire course grade. You don't want any one grade to be too punitive that there's no way for them to pass the class or still have an opportunity to make a certain overall letter grade. So with that in mind, I want to point out some of the caveats of using the late submission policy. Oh, excuse me. Caveat. So to calculate a late penalty, Canvas rounds up the day or hour to the next whole number. So for example, you may set a 10% per day late submission policy deduction if a student submits their 10-point assignment 1.3 days late. The late penalty will round 1.3 days to 2 days. So that student score will reflect a 20% or 2-point late submission deduction, again, assuming this is the original 10-point assignment. Applying a deduction to late submissions will automatically affect all assignments. And this is a really big caveat because it kind of is a big deal. Again, it's going to affect all of your grades. So even if their due dates are in the past or if they are previously graded submissions, therefore the late submission policy should be set up when a course is created prior to creating assignments. If a late policy is enabled and the instructor does not adjust the due dates, zeros will be applied to all assignments as imported due dates occur before the start of a current course. And again, the late submission policy, unfortunately, is not assignment specific. It will apply to all of the grades. The late submission policy may not work correctly when applied to a quiz created using Classic Quiz Tool when also using a missing submission policy. To ensure the late deduction is properly calculated for these quizzes, you must set an until date and time that occurs after the due date. So essentially, you have your due date, but there's also an availability window that you have to make sure you set as well for that policy, late submission policy, to work correctly. Additionally, this is another caveat, when taking a multiple attempt quiz, a student who makes a new attempt after the due date has passed will receive deductions on all attempts, including attempts made before the due date. So this might be a situation where you don't want to use the late submission policy deduction, which again means you're not using it at all because it affects all your grades. So let's think about this for a second. So if you have a quiz, you have a due date for the quiz, and you allow multiple attempts. You have an availability window as well for how long they can make those multiple attempts. So if they make a second attempt past the due date, that late submission deduction is also going to affect the original score they got that was within the original and appropriate time frame before the due date. So something to keep in mind. Now that we've gone over the specifics of the late submission policy, let me take a moment to show you where to access this within your course, along with the next policy we're going to discuss, which is the manual grade posting policy, or grade posting option, excuse me. Once you are in your course, click Grades from the left-hand navigation menu to access the gradebook. The settings icon is located in the top right-hand corner of the gradebook. When you click on settings, you will see you have options for late policies, grade posting policy, and the view options menu that lets you see how to arrange your columns assignments, which we previously discussed. Late policies is showing by default, and you will see checkboxes to automatically apply grade for missing submissions and automatically apply deduction to late submissions. It is here where you can create the percentage deduction for a late assignment determined by the day or the hour, as well as the lowest possible grade threshold. The next menu is the grade posting policy, which allows you to automatically or manually post grades. We will discuss the differences between the two momentarily, but it is important to note that it is from here where this particular setting will apply to the entire gradebook. If you want to change the grade posting policy of a specific or individual assignment, you would go to that particular assignment, click on the three vertical dots in the top right-hand corner, and choose Grade Posting Policy from the Assignment dropdown. Notice the header here. This lets us know that this policy is only being applied to the math test assignment versus the gradebook as a whole. Once you select manually, you will see that it asks if you want to schedule release dates, and it gives you the option to release the grades and assignments together or release them on separate schedules. If you do not select the release dates, you will have to remember to go into the gradebook and manually release the grades for posting. Looking at the gradebook now, you will see the word manual appended to the assignment. This is your indicator that this assignment has a manual posting policy and grades will need to be released for students to see them. Okay, so before we move on, are there any questions about the late submission policy? Marissa?
Maybe you covered this and I missed it in the details, but is it possible to cap the late points, like say after 5 days, I don't take late assignments anymore, so it stops doing like the deductions at say 50% or whatever. Can I cap it, or does it just go on until there's no points left?
That is a really good question, and I would want to look further into that before I give you an answer. I would definitely say if you have it depends on how you have your assignment set up, is what my initial thought is. Meaning that if you have a due date and you have the availability window set up, then they shouldn't be able to submit anything
Gotcha.
outside that availability window.
Okay, that makes
Now,
sense.
I will double check that to make sure that I am being truthful or that Canvas hasn't changed their mind on things.
Okay.
But that is my gut is telling me that.
So it's not really that I'm capping the late days, rather I'm closing the availability.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank
That's
you.
right. But you can set the threshold, like that low bar threshold. Like, I don't want it to be so punitive that they lose all their points and there's no point in them turning it in, right?
Right.
Okay. Got it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay. The next thing we want to focus on is grade posting policies, which control when students can see grades and feedback. And Canvas has two options. We have automatic posting, where grades are visible as soon as you enter them, and manual posting, where grades remain hidden until you choose to post them. And note that this also affects instructor comments. Comments won't be visible until the grades are posted. Manual posting can be set at the course level or per assignment. So this is actually, I feel like, a little bit more useful. And we strongly recommend using it intentionally, especially for high stakes or multi-step grading. Be sure to set the manual grade posting policy before you start grading to ensure all grades stay hidden until you are ready. So if you have an assignment and students have already submitted it and grades have been posted, and then you decide you want to hide it, it won't hide the grades that were posted before you choose that manual grading policy. So that's why I say if you're going to use that, make sure you choose it before the assignments are graded. One important thing to know is that grade posting policies can copy forward when courses are copied. So that means instructors may inherit a manual or automatic posting policy without realizing it. And if you've inherited or copied a course, be aware of where to find or verify those grade posting policies that I showed you in the previous video. And if you're developing a course that others might be teaching, consider how you will share that course-specific information with other instructors. Okay, so here are some specific use cases for manually posting grades in Canvas. So one big use case is fairness, ensuring all students receive their feedback at the same time, preventing early recipients from sharing answers with classmates who have not been graded. It's also ideal for large or complex assignments that take several days to grade. Manual posting stops students from seeing partial or sporadic grades, reducing anxiety and the emails that you get that say, why do they have a grade and I don't? Another important case is quizzes with manually graded questions. Canvas will show their temporary scores that may look alarming to students if their grades are visible right away. And manual policy hides those temporary grades until the entire assessment grading is complete. Manual posting is also helpful for group work, grade revisions, or any time you want to do a final review before releasing feedback. Have you ever had a student email you in a panic because they saw a 0 before you're finished grading? that's a sign that manual posting could help. As you continue working in Canvas, the Canvas LMS Instructor Guide is one of the best resources available. We strongly encourage you to bookmark it for ease of access. It's searchable, regularly updated, and often answers gradebook questions faster than trial and error. We've also linked directly to the Gradebook Guide, so you can revisit any of these tools later. Everything we've shown you today is documented in the Gradebook Guide. We've also linked to the UNT LMS support page. They are your go-to resource for the technical aspects of Canvas. You can submit a ticket through ServiceNow. They also have email, phone, and live chat support options. And that concludes today's session. Thank you for joining us. We will answer any questions you have, and we're available to stick around if you need us, but feel free to leave us. We want to be respectful of your time, but again, we'll be here for any questions that you have.
Yeah, Kim, you have a question?
Yeah, I just have one more question, please. So for I know you said that we could change the overall setting from automatic to manual in the grade book. And then you said something about, at the assignment level. I'm assuming the assignment level is when I go to add the assignment or edit an existing assignment, it's under the advanced options, or in, I guess, the word manual or automatic. Is that where I would make the change?
It is under the gradebook itself. Let me get back to that slide. Here we go. Okay. So in your gradebook, if there's one specific assignment, you would right-click on the 3 vertical dots in that assignment, and you choose the grade posting policy from there.
Oh, okay. So you don't, if there's no way to do it while you're creating the assignment.
I would want to double check on that, because assignment encompasses a lot of things. So there's discussions in the various quizzes. So I don't want to give you an overarching answer when it may be different for each type of assignment, if you will. But I can double check that for you.
Okay. And when I go in, I'll take a look. This is my first course that I'm teaching, and so I've been baptized by fire for Canvas. So these sessions are so helpful. But thank you so much. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. Really appreciate you coming.
Mm-hmm.